Hello and welcome to another episode of Reading in Bed Extracts with me, Amanda Nicholson. And today I'm going to be reading an extract of a children's book, and it's called The Green, and it's by Asya Grengauz. Hopefully I've pronounced that right, but I will, as always, include all the information in the write-up. And today I'll start with reading the blurb. Welcome to a world filled with magic and smog, but mostly smog. That's a big problem, and it won't be left by the wayside if the witches have anything to say about it. A magical world it may be, but with some real-life problems that are all too familiar to anyone who inhabits planet Earth. So here's the extract. There once was a coven of witches. They lived in a land far, far away. They lived in what used to be the woods and drew all of their power from the green, the magical, ever-giving green. But the green was in trouble, and so were the witches. Their very existence depended on the green, but it was disappearing faster and faster with each day. They needed to save it to save themselves. It seemed like a useless fight. How could they, this little coven, ever save it? It seemed an impossible feat, especially because the humans seemed so intent on getting rid of it. First they came and tamed the green as much as possible. They bent it to their wills whenever and wherever they could. The green was all-powerful, an epic force to be reckoned with, but those humans were clever. They too were a force to be reckoned with. They cut it down when it got in their way. They cleared the land and built towns and cities. They harvested the green's gifts and made them their own. Then they kept taking and taking until the green was depleted. They asked for more, and when it could no longer give, they left it there to wither away and die, never thinking to give back. They took its resources and made them into artificial and toxic things that they then threw at the green as if to say, "You wanted something back, here you go." No one seemed to care, as if the green wasn't important to the humans, as if their lives didn't depend on it, just like the witches' lives. The only difference was that they didn't have as direct of a connection to the green as the witches did. They didn't draw their powers directly from the green, and the humans had a hard time understanding what would happen in a few short years down the line if they continued down the path they were on. It was too abstract for them to truly understand. The witches loved the green in more ways than one. They loved its beauty and what it gave them, like food and shade, and they respected it. They also loved using their powers drawn from the green, but they needed them as well. They needed them to fight the ignorati. The ignorati were those who would spread lies, hate, misinformation, those who distorted facts and changed things into something seemingly unbelievable, disguising lies with words and sentences that made people buy into it. They knew how to do this and had been working on it for ages, but now they were especially doing well as the internet allowed a free flow of information to come from all sorts of sources, both verified and not. To top it all off, they had one of their own in power now, the Orange Man, who called everything he didn't like fake news and spewed their propaganda shamelessly. The witches tried to do their part. They recycled, they reused everything they could. They bought less and never ever used plastic bags. They made everything they could from scratch to avoid plastic packaging that came with everything that was bought. And they held rallies and tried to educate people on all of the harm caused by what they were doing. And yes, some people expressed interest and even changed their ways, but there were so many more who just didn't seem to care. It felt useless. There were just so many people, products, companies using plastic once and then simply throwing it away. The humans didn't seem to understand what they were doing. They would use plastic for everything, from straws to bowls to cups and utensils, and then just throw them out, never thinking twice about it. They had no idea what was and what wasn't recyclable. There were so many reusable alternatives, but the humans seemed to just love the convenience of throwing things away. What the coven of witches found really strange was that no one was talking about it. They didn't understand. Perhaps the human leaders were hiding something and it was a secret. But the evidence was all around them. Why didn't the humans just look and see what was happening? The Orange Man, who was their leader, talked about how there really was no problem. And that's the end of the extract. And this is going to be the last episode of Reading in Bed extracts for a while before I take a break. But I will be back probably early next year. And if you're interested in having an extract of your work read out, then I'll include the email that you can contact in the write-up. And of course, as always, I'll include the link to where you can buy the book that I've just read an extract of. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back next year. Bye for now.